Podcast. 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 Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Racer X Exhaust Podcast. Jason Weigandt here. Justin Cooper will be our guest today. Y'all blew it. There were like 6 weeks between Hangtown and now, and no one else decided to interview Justin Cooper, even though there was so much to unpack at the end of the year. He almost dug out the 250 National Motocross Championship, which didn't seem possible, but Jett Lawrence had a bad day at Hangtown, and Cooper finally went 1-1 for the first time in his career, so we can talk about that. We can talk about covering up that injury that he had at Washougal and why he did that. When we called him, he was at his new place in Florida, so making a lot of changes. The only problem is I don't think he has Wi-Fi at his house yet, so you'll watch this video on YouTube if you're doing that, and you'll see he's pretty blurry, and then at one point I just tell him to turn the camera off because I didn't want to lose the call altogether. I saved the bandwidth for the audio only. If you're only listening to this via the podcast app in the Racer X Podcast Network, oh, trust me, everything looked great the whole time. Want to thank our sponsors for the show, Yoshimura, of course, on board with the Exhaust Podcast. Look, if you have a Yamaha and you like Justin Cooper and you want to ride like him, get a Yoshimura exhaust system. Now, he doesn't actually have a Yosh on his bike, but if you have a Yamaha, you could have a Yosh on yours. If you have a Honda, you could get a Yosh, and that's exactly like the Lawrence brothers and also Ken Roxon and Chase Sexton use. They also have your RS12 exhaust systems for Suzuki's, for Kawasaki's, KTM's, Husqvarna's, you name it, they've got it. Yoshimura-rd.com. Also, check out Cardo Systems. Mechanic to rider, coach to rider, rider to rider, coach to coach, mechanic to mechanic. Maybe you got a huge crew. A Pack Talk communicator, you put it on the bar, chin bar of your helmet. It is a game changer with what you can do. It'll work a lot better than what I do, which is yell at my kid when he goes around the track in like the 5-second area of the track. He can actually hear me yelling, and it's usually yelling at him to stand up, or I'll take the seat off of your motorcycle, and then he only wants to do 3 laps, and then I yell, let's do 1 more, let's do 4. I could just make it a lot easier and tell him a lot more things more quietly if I just got a Cardo Systems Pack Talk communicator. Don't do as I do, do as I say. We'll even give you 15% off. Type RX15 in to the checkout, and you'll get 15% off courtesy of Racer X. Go to cardosystems.com. Also brought to you by onX Maps. Nowhere to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. 500,000 miles of trails mapped out. You can drop information, parking areas, terrain features, here's where you can camp, all that information. You can add that, or you can read what has been added by others. Public and private lands have been mapped out. If you're a dirt bike guy on trails, if you're a mountain biker, a hiker, a jogger, anything outdoors, including hunting, that's originally what this app was designed for, onX Maps has got you covered. Go to onxmaps.com and onX Off-Road in the App Store. You won't regret it. Now let's dial in Justin Cooper. Okay, so pretty simple here. My first question is, I'm seeing trees in the background. That looks like Florida, not California. Can you describe your move here? Because I know the team is moving to Florida, but you've been a California guy. Florida was a rush in the summer. Where are you at in this whole process right now?
To be honest, I moved into my house on Monday, so it's time to move here full time, and it's been a good summer. We've kind of got to test the waters out here, and the whole thing's coming together nice. I'm an East Coast kid, and everything's just, it's a good switch up for me. So I've been on California soil for like 4 years now, and it's a good change for me. It's a good change for the team, and I think we'll be a lot more productive out of here.
Yes, but I remember like 2 years ago or something, it was a big deal. You bought your first house. So what happens to that?
So hopefully I'm doing West Coast Supercross to defend the #1, and I was thinking, hey, it's October. I might as well keep it and stay there when we're on the West Coast. So I'm going to need a place to stay then. So I might as well hold on to the house for, a couple more months, and then, decide on renting it or selling it then.
So no roommates in there right now. You're not stuffing 5 guys in there and having them pay the mortgage.
No, it's just, it's empty right now. Should be back there in December if all goes to plan and I do West Coast, but yeah, just leaving it empty and just ready to come back to whenever I need it.
Okay. So how does the Florida thing work? Like, you bought another house? Is that what you're saying? Or you just moved into a house?
Yeah, I bought another house here in February or March, or right around Daytona. I was here riding Supercross and got the time to explore the area and figure out where I wanted to be, and actually got a house built. So it's finishing up right now. Closed on the 25th, so it's all coming together nicely, and it's time to move into that. So I'm really excited for that.
Whoa. Are you going to be able to carry the mortgage here for both, or does the California one eventually have to go or get rented out? And by the way, I know you're probably surrounded by people who have done this 20 times. So do you get advice about this stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I'm pretty young still, and just been going with the flow. I've had good results this year, and it's really helped out as far as getting another house. So as long as everything keeps going to plan, it should be no problem. And just really excited to be back on the East Coast and just again switch things up. It's been a long few years out in California.
Okay, yeah, your season. Obviously, it's been a good one. You won a Supercross title. Your outdoor season, you didn't win that title, but you were really better from beginning to end than any season you had had. So, how do you look at 2021? Are you like, it was great, it was better, or I should have won both titles and I didn't? How do you look at it?
It's bittersweet. I'm really proud of myself. I've made a lot of progress this year, and of course, I feel like I should have won both, but it just didn't pan out that way. And I'm accepting that, and there's always next year. I'm just happy that I've progressed as a rider, and uh, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but I never gave up, and I made a lot of progress. So I'm really excited with that, and I'm excited to bring it into next year.
Yeah, because one of the things we talked about at the beginning of outdoors is you always start every season so strong, and you're trying to figure out how to end it just as strong. So, do you feel like you at least solved that situation? I don't know if you even know what you did different, but you did go 1-1 at the last race of the year.
Yeah, I feel like it was pretty easy too. I think everyone was kind of saying, "Oh, this is the last race of the year. Let's kind of just get through it." And I was obviously going after a championship, so I wasn't backing down at all. And I know I really had to go out and do that. So it was good to finally get that off the back, and it was a bittersweet sweet day with losing the championship the same day I went 1-1. But yeah, I was really pumped on that day, and I feel like it was much needed, and it was a long time coming. So I'm glad to get that out of the way, and just again glad with the progress I made all year. And I've struggled at a lot of the outdoor tracks like over the years, and I feel like I figured each one out a certain way, and I was able to be good at each track and not just at a few.
Hey, see, that's something we didn't even realize. We just look at each rider as himself. So you're saying through the years, it was just track to track. It wasn't like, oh, Cooper has confidence or Cooper lost momentum. Oh, and now Cooper's feeling it today. A lot of it was just track to track, depending.
Yeah, I mean, the confidence this year definitely helped. And if let's say you're leading a championship, you're going to go there and you're going to force yourself to do good. You're going to figure it out some way. So I don't know if that's if I can give it to that, or if it was actually just me becoming a better rider and adapting to the tracks better. It's hard to tell. Maybe it's a little bit of everything.
What was it like, by the way, to deal with the pressure? Because look, you and Colt won the Supercross titles, and then of the two of you, you were the only one in the hunt for the motocross title. So you were really the only 250 guy who is in a pressure situation every week all year.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely told my close ones like it's been a mentally tough year. Like every single race that I competed in this year, I had the championship in mind, and that's not really the most comfortable position to be in, but it's also, I'm not complaining. It's a great position to be in, and you can't take that for granted. But yeah, you can't mess up, and you have to have that in the back of your mind. You can't throw any motos away. You can't throw any, make any stupid mistakes. You have to be there every weekend. And when you do make mistakes, you have to, make it count to get back up there as quick as you can. So that's the main thing. I think I've learned a lot from it this year. I've always been sort of a title contender, but not like leading championships and stuff like this for this long. So it was definitely more mentally challenging for me, and it it was experience that I definitely needed going into next year and even into the 450 ranks. So it's definitely a tough position to be in, and it takes a toll on you mentally.
Yeah. For example, like what was that like at the final Supercross there? You just kind of did what you needed to do at that final race. Was that a nerve-wracking night before? Was it a nerve-wracking day? You had a nice points gap, but you still needed to not blow it. So was that nerve-wracking more so than a normal race?
To be honest, it wasn't nerve-wracking at all until I got bumped off the track in the heat race, and that's when I kind of like realized like, whoa, I can still like this could still not happen. I felt like it was pretty much wrapped up, but Hunter Lawrence had other plans for me, so I still owe him one for that.
Okay. All right. Did that experience help when you got to outdoors? You had already been through it once. Do you think you learned something about, dealing with pressure or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I'm really consistent, I feel, with my results, and I know I can always, go off that I'll put myself in good positions and I'll make the right choices. But leading a championship, it doesn't require you to exactly be up there every weekend. It requires you to go out there and win, and that's the biggest difference with not being in a championship and leading a championship. Like you have to back it up week in and week out, and there's no really time to fall off. So in order to be a championship contender, you have to be up there every weekend, and that's the mentally, I guess, tough part.
Well, dude, I feel like we were seeing that. Like you went 2-2, you win the overall Thunder Valley. You were bummed you didn't win a moto. We remember, I think it was maybe Unadilla. No, Spring Creek. You were on the podium, but you seemed super bummed that you had the lead in the motos. We kind of saw you learning that almost in front of us, where if you didn't get the moto win, you weren't happy just being on the podium.
Yeah, because I had the championship in mind the whole time, and I wanted to maximize my points every time out. And every time where I was, I felt like I should have been winning the race, and I ended up getting past. It's not a good feeling when you're striving to be the best guy. It's defeating sometimes. So you have to, put that behind you, and you have to reset it, try and go back out for, the next moto if it happened in the first moto, and just try to do it all over again and hope for a different outcome. And just try to do your best each time out. It's definitely tough.
Well, plus, look, we know how star racing operates. I guess if you didn't win the motos, you probably heard about it. And by the way, I do kind of know this behind the scenes. They don't mince words. If they think you can win a moto and you don't win a moto, they probably let you hear about it. And by the way, I already know they do. So what is that like?
Yeah, a lot of pressure. There's no hiding that. It's good pressure. You gotta be held accountable for the times that you don't perform to your best. And I feel like if you don't have that, you kind of lose sight of what you can do, and it maybe sometimes you don't get your best self if you don't have that pressure there to reinforce it. So there's no getting lazy on the team. That's all I can say.
There you go. Hey, can you turn your camera off? I think we'll be smoother that way. Spring Creek, you lead, you get second and third. It was good, but you weren't pumped even though you took the points lead. Let's get into Washougal. It looked like Washougal, you were out to do it, to prove the point. I'm out to win the motos, not just be a consistent guy. Was that the mindset? Because it sort of looked that way at Washougal the next race.
Yeah, Washougal was, awesome for me, and I really felt good that day. And the first moto was, great for the championship. I think I gained like 11 points in one moto, and it was it's funny, as soon as when I crashed, I kind of almost was settling for second at that point. I tried to make a run at Jeremy a couple times, and it was just, it was pretty easy to see. It's hard to make a pass on that track, and we were going pretty fast at that time. So it was kind of just like, all right, let's settle in for second. And then all of a sudden I was down on the ground, and that was kind of the end of that. And that's really what, it was my best feeling race, I feel, and then it went to the worst. So it's how it panned out there.
Yeah. We'll get into the injury here in a moment, but was Washougal like, hey, I'm doing it? They told me to step up. I knew I needed to step up. I can't just get podiums. I have to win. Do you feel like you did that day, even though it didn't end the way you wanted? But do you feel like you had kind of gone that next step that you had been looking for?
Yeah, of course. Everyone was, really happy with me, and I was really happy with myself. I had to push really hard in the first moto, and I almost had a few crashes just trying to, win the first moto. And I was really just proud of myself for pushing it that far. And I had been working really hard to get to that point with the weeks that we did have off. Or maybe no, we didn't have a break that time, but I was striving to get back to that win. I didn't have a win since round two, and I felt like that was, I had to get one, and I had felt that way like all the previous weekends, but they just weren't coming. I was getting second or third, and I really was just pushing the pace that day, and was just really looking to get the overall win. That was really important to me at that point in the season.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That crash, like you're saying, that didn't you had stopped pushing at that point. The crash didn't happen because you were, I have to catch Jeremy, I have to get the 1-1. You were actually at that point riding in control.
Yeah, like a half a lap before I crashed, I kind of was not throwing in the towel, but was, not really going to get him unless he made a mistake. So I had tried to, I got up to his back wheel, but I just wasn't going to be able to make anything happen. And yeah, just out of nowhere, kind of got caught off guard and hit a little edge in the uphill, and it kind of threw me for a wild ride.
Ooh. Um, did you even know that you had hurt anything at that point? Or is this one of those adrenaline things where you don't realize till the next day or later that night or something like that? Or did you already, as soon as you got up, say, uh-oh?
Uh, yeah, I think when I got up, you're trying to get your bike up, like you're not really worried about, as long as you can get up, you're good at that point. But I remember once I got up, and I just couldn't. I was tired at that point, obviously, but I just couldn't, like, I was going like 2 miles an hour for like 30 seconds. Like I couldn't get going. And yeah, I felt my thumb right away, especially on that first downhill. It was like when I pushed my hand into the bar on the braking bumps, I could feel something was wrong. And I didn't, it was definitely not good. Like I knew it shouldn't be hurting that quick, that like bad. And it kind of scared me, but obviously I was looking forward to the break that we had coming up after that race, and luckily it did, or else I wouldn't have probably been able to even compete in the, if it was like a week like it normally was. So yeah, from that crash, I felt my thumb, and it was hard to get around the track the last 2 laps. It was just pretty uncomfortable, and the team was pumped with me after the race on the podium and all that. And I remember I was trying to, I ended up spraying the champagne, but it was so painful, and it was just like everyone was so happy with how I rode that I knew at that point that something was wrong, and it was going to be hard to, get back to that level.
So when did you actually get it looked at or diagnosed, or did you not even? Did you just try to block it all out?
I got it looked at Monday morning after the race in California, and it was yeah, it was broken.
Oh man. Okay, so what is the reaction? Like that had to be gut wrenching. I mean, you eventually were able to come back and ride, but I don't know if you knew that. As soon as you finally get a broken bone, I'm sure you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, well, it was like I was leading the championship, and there's only one thing to do. Like if we had 3 weeks, I think, and yeah, it was broken, but I had to, go out and like my heart sang, and I knew what I was in for. Like I had broken my foot before Supercross, and I had a little bit more time there. It was like 4 weeks or 4.5 weeks, so I was able to get through that. But the thumb is, I feel like, way different because it's like, it's the throttle hand, and it's just not comfortable to say the least. And it's a hard injury to protect. So Yeah, it was. I knew what I was going to be facing, and it was just kind of disappointing. So
Yeah. So you
yeah,
said
from
it,
there
your
I
heart
just
sank like when you got that diagnosis. You were like, this is going to be a problem.
yeah. I mean, there's no hiding that. I knew it was going to be a problem, and I was just what could I do to get back and try to win the championship.
Yeah. So you had, 2 weekends, almost 3 whole weeks. Was there any riding stuff, or was it all rehab, or was it trying to do both? How did those 3 weeks kind of under the radar go?
Yeah, so there was no riding at all.
Wow.
Um, yeah, that was looking back on that. That's what costed me the championship right there was the no seat time. Yeah, I could deal with the pain, and I was trying to let it heal
Yep.
and kind of do the right thing because I mean we had 5 rounds in a row to the end, so there was going to be no time for it to heal at that point. So I said I'll just do what I can on a spin bike and keep the cardio levels up. And I was getting my heart rate on the spin bike up to like 185, 190, just doing everything I could to kind of resemble riding. But at the end of the day, it just it took me down a notch, and I couldn't sustain that race pace. I just couldn't. My like cardio couldn't keep up with it.
So you feel in those motos, like the last 5 rounds, well, the last, I guess, 4 of the last 5, your endurance was suffering more than the thumb injury itself.
Yeah, 100%. It was the thumb was painful and it was very uncomfortable, but I was able to push through that. But what I wasn't able to push through is just like I couldn't catch my breath in some of the motos, and I couldn't breathe out there. It was kind of like riding Supercross for the first day, after you have an off season. It's just can't breathe out there, and once you can't do that, you start falling backwards pretty quick. So all those guys are at an extremely high level of fitness, and as soon as you stop riding, at least for me, it kind of just it falls off quick, and you need that. You depend on that. You do motos during the week to resemble the race, to stay and maintain that fitness for when you need it on the race weekend when the pace is high and you need to race for the win. So just didn't have it and in some of those rounds, and it definitely didn't help with the heat that we had for the last, I would say, 4 rounds. There's definitely a lot of hot ones, so
Yep.
made it even that much tougher.
So we have the all-time example here of you can do any training you want off the bike. You cannot replicate riding a motocross bike on a motocross track. This is like the all-time example of that.
Yeah, I mean you can't resemble it. It's especially like racing. I
Yep.
mean, you hear that all the time. You can't resemble racing. So
Yeah.
when you're going from a spin bike to race a pro national, it's it's way different and it's way out of your element. So
Hey, but here's the crazy thing, dude.
I did what I could. I really tried. And go
You
ahead.
Here's the crazy thing though. So we come back at Unadilla, and no one knows about this. We'll get into the secret part, but you win the very first moto. So what was your when you came into Unadilla either that morning or when you're flying in the race? How worried were you, and then how relieved were you when you won the very first moto you were in?
Oh, I was terrified.
Okay.
Uh, in practice, I was able. It kind of like just made me remind me that I could kind of maybe still do this, and I was really not feeling good going into Unadilla. Obviously, I wasn't really anywhere near healed, and first moto, yeah, it was kind of like there was a lot of rumors going around about maybe I was hurt, and I think some people kind of got you know word of it that I could be hurt, and it was kind of just like I got to go out here and prove that like nothing's wrong, and you know, I'm here to win. And it was a big monkey off the back to get that first moto win for sure.
Yeah, plus you and Jett had not battled in a while. He hadn't been getting good starts. You actually battled in that moto and you actually pulled away. Did you surprise yourself a little bit?
Yeah, no, for sure. I didn't expect much going into Unadilla. I was just trying to, maybe be like a podium guy, and I didn't really expect to win. That's for sure. So when I looked over and saw Jett for the first moto, I was kind of hoping he got a bad start, just to make it a little bit easier on myself. But he was right behind me right off the gate. So that's definitely not what I wanted to see. But yeah, it was definitely a really good moto for me.
Okay, Moto 2 wasn't as good. You said, we didn't change the bike. Was this an elaborate game to cover this up, or were some of the things you were saying a couple weeks later, I think you said you were sick? Was any of that true, or was this all stuff to cover up the thumb injury?
I was actually sick at Budds Creek, but now second moto at Unadilla, my bike definitely wasn't. Definitely wasn't as comfortable as I was in the first moto, but
Yeah.
my energy levels were not even close to being competitive out there. I think I finished a minute behind the leader, so I gave it everything I had in the first moto, and by the time the second moto came around, I was just surviving.
Okay, but the buds, the being sick at buds after you were good in that first moto, second moto wasn't as good. That actually was sickness right there.
Yeah, that was completely sickness. Thursday I was in bed all day. I couldn't even really get out of bed. So something hit me hard, and it got better for buds, but I was definitely feeling under the weather there.
Dude, did you get a little like, woe is me? Like, oh, why is this happening? This is an injury and an illness. Or is it like, nah, you just know this is going to come at some point? Or were you really like feeling bad for yourself at one point?
I really was feeling bad for myself, to be
Okay.
honest. I felt like everything was out to get me, and everything that I got hurt, I got sick. It was all coming at me at the wrong time at the last 5 rounds of the championship. So I mean, I hung in there and I did what I could, but I came up short at the end.
Okay, can we get into the keeping it secret? People hate when riders do this. I think I know why you do it, but can you explain why the goal was to not tell people about this thumb injury?
Yeah, it's just it's a close championship, right? So you don't want to show any weakness, and you're looking for weakness from your competitors. So if they show weakness, you're gonna it's gonna give you, I guess, a little bit more confidence, and you're gonna be more motivated, I guess, to get after it if they're showing signs of weakness. So it's just trying to keep it a level playing field, and I feel like it's time to start coming out about things that are going wrong with you. It does, I guess, help the competitor, but if you're okay with letting everyone know and you believe in yourself, I feel like it's time people stop hiding that kind of stuff. And in Supercross, before the championship even started, I came out about my foot injury. So I don't know, I just wasn't feeling comfortable at this point in time talking about that. Felt like it was too close to to give up show any weakness, I guess.
Well, look, so what you're saying is if the situation was reversed, if you're battling someone and you find out they have a nagging injury or an illness or whatever, you think it would give you a boost. Like that's where this idea is coming from. You think it would help you if you were in that situation.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only reason why people wouldn't tell. They're like, oh, this guy's not 100%. Like I got him this weekend, or stuff like that. So it's just, it was too close of a championship to. I didn't want anyone knowing that I was hurt.
How elaborate does it have to get? Like, does it almost become a little bit of pressure, or like, oh, something else I got to worry about? I got to cover it up here. I got to not mention it here. I got to make sure these people don't know about it. Does it start to become consuming like that, or is it not really that complicated?
in the beginning, it's, you know, you got to be careful with who you tell. You know, your teammates know, and like a bunch of people know. It's the word's gonna get out. Like there's gonna be rumors going around. So it's more, I guess, in the beginning it's more crucial, but you know, by the time like buds rolled around and all that stuff, like I wasn't really worried about people knowing I had a, you know, nagging thumb injury. It was just more like protecting myself in the beginning, like for the first race back, like Unadilla, I didn't know how I was gonna do and how I was gonna go. So just trying to keep it low key for that.
I'll give you credit though. We all were having this massive like seafood dinner. If you remember this, over at Bill Dill's 3D racing team Saturday night at Unadilla, and you and Swanee roll up and you decided to come hang out. Like you could have just hidden from everybody, but you actually even hung out a little bit.
Hey, I couldn't resist that seafood. It looked good.
Yeah, there you go. Do you know Bill Dill? I mean, he's Southwick area. I don't know. Did you know him through the years, like your younger years or anything?
Yeah, I definitely know of him. He never really got a chance to work together, but yeah, I definitely seen him around a lot.
That's cool. Okay, so after Unadilla, you have to have this huge sense of relief of like, okay, I didn't win Unadilla, but I won a moto. Did you feel like it was? You must have been relieved compared to coming in. Had to be much better.
Yeah, it was definitely a sign of relief. Like, hey, we lost a few points, but you know, we got through what should be the toughest round to deal with this injury, and it was a really tough track. That's Unadilla is known to be gnarly like that, so it was a win for me for sure. And you know, the only thing that really wasn't good about that day is Jett had won, and that was, you know, something I didn't want. Obviously, he hadn't won since I think the first round, so that was a really, you know, big boost for him. And but otherwise for me, it was, you know, it was an awesome day, and you know, what should have been, and it was, you know, the most painful and hardest day for me.
Hey, were you able to get back to your routine of riding during the week at all, or was it pretty much a mess all the way to the end?
I I did. I think after Unadilla, I gave it a shot. I ran, or yeah, I did one day. I think after Unadilla before whatever the next race was, and then I remember after. So basically, at the next race after Unadilla, I don't remember which one that was. My thumb was the exact same as Unadilla. So we decided the next week to, as far as pain goes, we decided the next week to not ride at all. And leading up to that race, it was Ironman. And so I basically went out there and I hadn't ridden um, all the way from, you know, the weekend before. So looking back on it, I wish I would have, you know, just suffered through the pain, because it would have probably helped me, and I would have been a little bit better off, I feel like, in the motos. But I can't change that now. But yeah, definitely looking back, that's the seat time definitely cost me.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a million things at the end of a close championship you can look back on, right? But at the time, you only know what you know at the time, right?
Exactly. You can only do what you can do at the time, and you try to make the best decisions. You try to listen to the people around you. You try to come up with an idea, a game plan that'll work the best. And you know, there's no regrets looking back on that. We did absolutely everything that we thought was right, and that's all we could really ask for.
Hey, you win that last race. Okay, you're saying maybe a lot of guys aren't going, as full deep as they normally do because it's the last round of the year. But still, were you starting to get better, or was it just because everybody else had dropped off and you have more on the line, or did you feel like you were coming back around?
Oh no, for sure, I was definitely getting better.
Okay.
Um, and the races even before that, I mean, I was feeling pretty good at Paula. Just it was honestly so dang hot that I couldn't even can't even explain how hot that race was. It was like the WW Ranch. It was close to that race. So back in 2019. But yeah, I feel like I was I was obviously coming back around. I had lost that 3 weeks, and it doesn't take too long to get back, but it takes enough to mess you up for those few weekends for sure.
When it was finally over, that's a lot of stress to deal with all year. I mean, did you have to take? I'm sure every rider takes a break at the end of the year anyway. But did you like extra need a break? Did you take an extra break? Did you need? I would just think from the mental side alone, you needed to disconnect a bit, probably more than usual with the kind of pressure you're under all year.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, tomorrow is my first day back on the bike from Hangtown, so it's been a
Wow.
while, and yeah, it's been a while. So it's been a nice little break, and honestly, I needed it. It's been a long year, and I really haven't missed too much racing over the years, so it's definitely hard because I haven't really had a break, and I'm thankful to not get injured that often, and when I do, they're pretty small. So it's just it's caught up to me over the last couple of years, and you really need some downtime when you aren't taking breaks from injuries like that. So it is nice to get off the bike. We're gonna have another year of it coming up, so no really rush to get back into it. But yeah, start back up tomorrow and start getting ready for West Coast.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. My last thing, okay, you and Jett, you kept it clean, no controversy all year. Remember that little duel you guys had at the end of the year in 2020 with the dog in the podium and the butt patch and him calling you out? But then you battled all year for a title and we never heard any trash talk between you guys. Was that a conscious decision or did it just work out that way?
Yeah, it just it worked out that way. I think we both have grown some respect for each other. We're both really good riders, and we made for a really good season of racing, and I think it's good. It's good. We had a close championship all year, and I think the fans enjoyed that, and should be more of the same for next year.
Yeah, yeah. So it really never boiled over. Like it never became personal. At least it didn't seem that way. It didn't feel that way for you. It was just two guys going for it.
No, nothing was. I'm a clean rider unless someone gives me something I don't like, and then I'm gonna go right back after him. So everything stayed clean, and I don't believe in cleaning someone out for a championship or anything like that unless it's last moto do or die kind of stuff. But it never came down to that, and it should have been closer than it was, but it never came down to that. And it was good to keep it clean all year for sure.
Yeah, but okay, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Hangtown was a disaster for him. Did you know what was going on? Like after Moto 1 and then Moto 2 ends up being bad for him. You knew it was a long shot coming in. Did you start to all of a sudden have these visions and these emotions of like, wait a minute, this might actually happen? What was that experience like at the last race?
Yeah, the first moto I was trying to find him, and I couldn't see him anywhere. I really had thought he'd DNF the first moto
Oh,
because you expect him to get up there, and at some point you expect to see him somewhere on the track, but I never caught a glimpse of him. And obviously knowing that what I know now, he had a few crashes. So yeah, second moto I felt like I had a chance, and I felt like there was a chance that he was feeling. I know he was feeling pressure, but I feel like there was a chance that pressure was going to really get to him in a way that he was going to actually throw it away. So he he didn't make it easy on himself, and he made another big mistake. I think in the second moto, maybe. Yeah, he had a tip over or something, but yeah, he definitely made it close, and he almost he almost let the championship pressure get the best of him. And I feel like that's where I have a little bit more experience on him, coming from the past couple of years, leading some championships and the Supercross championship this year. So at one point, I really did think he was going to blow it.
yeah. Well, so yeah, like in going into Moto 2, were your emotions totally different than going into Moto 1 of like, wait, this is a lot closer than I probably thought it was going to be? Like, were you processing all that?
Yeah, after the first one, I was like, dang, I'm still, I need him to have another bag moto. And I was almost disappointed, what could I have done to being closer to capitalize on this? But
Yeah.
there is really nothing I could have done because I did give it everything in every race, and that's where the points led up to. And he deserved to have that points gap. He went 1-1 at the previous 2 rounds, and yeah, it was just a little bit too much of a gap to make up.
Dude, did you know in Moto 2 at one point, we had it where I think at one point in Moto 2, you would have been the points leader, like if the race ended on lap 4. Did you know any of that drama was actually going on?
I mean, yeah, I took a look over, and I knew he was back there around 10th or whatever, but you gotta assume that he's gonna make his way through those guys pretty easily. And unless that pressure got to him, which I thought it very well could have, I had a feeling he was gonna get up to a place to secure what he needed. But I was just out trying to do my job and win the race.
Yeah, so you never got to the point where you were starting to almost like see it happening or envision, I'm going to win this. It never quite got to that point.
I envisioned it before Moto 2.
Oh, you did?
I knew I could do my job. I knew I could do my job, but I was pretty sure he was gonna be able to get whatever top 7 or 6 or whatever it was. So yeah, he was riding really good at the end of the season. I don't see why he would have finished outside the top 7 two motos in a row.
Crazy things happen when there's that much pressure. I guess that's what it comes down to. Yeah. Yep.
Definitely does.
Yep. All right. So yeah, you look back at it like, hey, you would have loved to win the title. It was close, but it was a big year for you. It was a good year for you. You did win a Supercross title. You will not look back at 2021 as disappointed. You'll look back at it. It was pretty good overall.
Oh no, amazing year.
Yeah.
I barely missed the podium at any event, so it was a really good year for me. I got that Supercross championship is what I've worked towards my whole life, and for it to pay off like that just makes everything I've done worth it. And I really thought I was going to be a motocross championship rather than a Supercross champion. So it's pretty crazy to see how far I've come in Supercross, and to be a title contender in both series is really important to me, and it makes my future look pretty bright, I feel. So I'm proud of the progress I've made this year, and looking for more in 2022 and go out with a bang in the 250 class.
All right. Yeah. No, that's good perspective. I think a lot of guys, you get so locked in that it's almost like anything that's less than perfect, it's hard to be satisfied. But you're good with being 99% perfect, like almost nailed it all year. You can actually smile about that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you want to get both championships, but at the end of this day, I mean, you can't really just like put yourself down in the dirt over it. I mean, stuff happened to me, and I tried to overcome it. But I mean, I lost the championship by 6 points. That's it's pretty much like close enough to be like, hey, this guy's the real deal outdoors too. So just gonna try and put my head down for this next year and give it everything I have for this last year in 250, and maybe we'll get both next year.